Live on Facebook. Hello, everybody. I'm Love Coach Scott Katamas, and this is a really special edition of our Straight Talk with Scott and Trish. And the beautiful one is Trish. A little bit of a Beauty and the Beast thing going on here. Um, but we've got three extraordinary people who all are, some people say, contactees, experiencers, but have deep connection to the inner world and to the outer world in a very big way. And I'm going to let each one of them talk about it. The reason we want to do this show tonight is because we're right in the middle of the harmonic convergence. And I'm guessing most of you have watched maybe some of my previous shows. We just did another one a couple of hours ago. And of course, I've done three interviews now with Mark Sims. And we're in it. We're right in the midst of the harmonic convergence. And this is an amazing planetary alignment time. And people all over the world are coming together to raise consciousness with the idea that if we raise our consciousness enough, at the very least, life's going to get a whole lot better on this planet. And perhaps we may actually be able to call in more direct contact, more sightings with our star brothers and star sisters. So I'm going to ask you all several questions and just want to ask if people can keep their responses short. Trust me, there'll be time to have more questions, okay? I'm going to start with Celestine because I've known her the longest. Celestine, can you give us just a little bit of perspective about this time on the planet and your perception or experience of why this is such a significant time? And you muted, dear.
I want to say thank you, Scott. It's been an incredible 30 or so year road that we've walked together. And I just want to say welcome to everyone. As far as what is happening that I am experiencing and having direct information come to me from the High Spiritual Council and the Galactic Star Federation is that our Earth magnosphere, the electromagnetic sphere of the Earth, is shifting. Around it, we are surrounded by a higher frequency. More gamma rays are entering the Earth, and our solar winds are going through a 25-year cycle where they're a little bit low. They're low, and so the winds are not as strong. And when it happens like that, the gamma rays come through more, there's less shielding. And if you want to do scientific research there, you can look at the Schumann resonance. And that means when the cosmic rays and the solar rays hit the Earth, she rings like a bell. And of late, up until probably about October, November, she was at a constant 7.83 hertz. And now she's up to 110. So we have more gamma energy. We have more energy fusing through our bodies, through the earth, and it's shifting people's sensitivities. We are getting our right and left brain hemisphere activated at the same time. People are becoming more clairaudient, clairvoyant. The siddhas are coming online. So there's also bringing up the shadow, because more light, the shadows get crispy. And we're seeing a lot of confusion and conflict because things that were illusion are now falling apart. There's sadness in the deaths that are happening. And so I don't want to speak into that because of the viruses going on. There's just so much that has to be broken down individually. But for me, this is a time when we are spinning the wheel of time. We're literally moving ourselves to a place of higher consciousness where we can begin to be empathetic and more compassionate to each other. And we're seeing it with people locked away and sheltered away. And do you have food and what's going on? So I'm seeing a lot of that. And there's just so much heart opening. The world's heart is cracking open while we are raising our consciousness, and we're going to be met by the higher intelligence of this universe is preparing us for the reintegration of the earth and the star kin together. So I'll leave it at that.
No, I'm muted. Thank you, Celestine, for that really beautiful introduction. And same question, actually, to Karsta, my Greek brother from another mother.
Thank
Costa,
you
what's
very
your take on all of this?
Thank you for the opportunity to re-meet you here, Scott, and to speak with your audience. I want to underline and echo what Celestine said as well, because that's the information I'm getting and the perspective I have, which is what I'm calling, and it's not original with me, the golden age of Gaia, of our Earth, is being born right now. And with every birth there, as any woman will tell you, some come easier, some don't, but there's always a challenge and a struggle. And I think that we are in that right now, but it's all to the good, because these higher vibrations are what our destiny is. We are raising our consciousness, and we have a incredible opportunity to birth, to bring our positive thoughts to creating the future that we want, rather than looking at the past and what's been done to humanity by various forces active on the planet, uh, which are not to be denied, but those are being neutralized, and we now have it in our hands. That's my perspective. We humans, to get together, figure out what we want, and look forward, not backward, and create the future. Energy does follow thought. Two things that I've been involved in that are my mission, and which are giving life to the perspective I've just been talking about, are the People's Disclosure Movement and the People's Love Alliance. And I'll talk more about those in detail. But all I will say right now is that just as we're not alone in the cosmos, and this higher intelligent life is here by the millions, many star civilizations, to help us if we request it. Not only are we not alone in the cosmos, but we're also not alone on Earth. And that's what the People's Love Alliance is about, which is a recognition of something that the mass media will not tell us, which is how many of us there are who have been awakening and will continue to awaken, and who are each other's allies. If we only would just realize it, get together, and synergize the power that we have. I'll be talking more in detail, if given the chance, about the People's Love Alliance, and where you can look for evidence of this, because it's something that's very heartening and very inspiring to know that we're not alone on Earth. It's not just us and 10 of our friends. We're trying to create the new world. And I didn't say New World Order, I said New World, the golden age that we want. It's literally millions of us. And that's what the good news is.
Beautiful, and I agree with you. The media loves to put the focus on all that's wrong, or the death, the destruction, and that's there, it's out there. But there's so many amazing people who are dedicated to raising consciousness, raising awareness, and I know that each of you fall into that category. Lorian, we're new. I don't know you before tonight, and I'm really happy to have you on the show. My business partner and producing partner of the Saturday Night Live show, Deborah Giusti, speaks so highly of you. And I'd love to ask you just to share a little bit about your direct experience. I mean, I know you probably could talk for hours about it, but give us a little bit of an overview of your direct experience.
Do we have a week? Oh my God. Well, I just wanted to talk just for a second about what Costa and Celestine both just said, because it's very interesting that they were talking about, the energies coming in, and that we're all, feeling with the COVID thing and all that stuff going on. I was given a download about, I would say it's almost 2 years ago now. And what was interesting in that download was Celestine talked about time, and it was a convergence in 2022 to 2025 where people were going to start not just accepting the fact that our UFO brothers are with us, but the fact that we are eternal beings, because what they were going to start feeling were their past and future lives all kind of melting into one in a consciousness aspect, so that they understood that this is all happening at the same time. and that this is what we need to carry forward into the future on this planet in this 3D body with us going forward. And they will have these epiphanies of like, oh my God, I was this person in the past, I'm going to be this person in the future. And that's all the same thing. And if I treat anybody any, worse here now or when ever, or if I treat them really good, it's all going to come back to me in all these lives converging as one. So time plays a big part in this. I'm not sure what they were trying to tell me yet, because I'm still begging for the rest of the download, but I'm hoping that they will give that to me in the future, because it was an extraordinary experience. It was more than a download. It was, purely a prophetic vision of people all over the planet just suddenly realizing that they were one with the cosmos, but also one with their higher selves on many different planes. And I like to refer to this movie called Midnight Special. I don't know if anybody's seen it here. It's about a little boy named Alton. And if you look it up on Amazon, it's absolutely amazing. And I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but if you watch that movie, the ending, I mean, I cry before the movie starts. I've seen it 8 times. And it explains everything in a nutshell of what's going on this planet. I truly believe that there are other entities, other beings, other dimensions, all with us, all at the same time, all around us, all the time. And we're just going to start awakening. It's like popcorn, pop, pop, pop. We're going to start awakening to the fact that this is happening, and it's going to be happening more and more with everybody every day. So wanted to throw that out.
All right, Midnight Special on Amazon.
Yes, it's fabulous.
Okay, but don't go watch it until after the end of the show.
Exactly.
Stay with the show. I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Trish, to see what's alive for you and what you'd like to ask, Trish.
Well, you all come with in so much incredible experience, and it's like, oh my gosh, what do I ask first? What I'm hearing and the theme of what everyone is touching on is really that we're in a time where we get to choose what's next, and that is how we show up. Like everything, I wrote it down. There's the neutralizing of the past. So my question is, how do we prepare and walk forward from here? Like for everybody watching, what are the steps? What can we do? And how can we really show up in letting our own past and letting the global and social past go? Like, how do we step forward?
One thing I can suggest, as far as linking with the cosmic civilizations that have been here actually for thousands of years, but are here in even greater numbers, part of the equation is, as we move forward, to answer your question or to address it, is we need to link with them because they're here to help as much as we need to link with each other. So I can give you a twofold answer. Number one, linking with them, they've been honoring our free will and not intervening in our affairs to a great point. That changed in 2019. So we have in the ET Let's Talk community that I facilitate, we have 50,000 people in more than 100 countries that make contact with these civilizations every day, every week, every month. We've been doing this for 10 years now. And that's one way that we can move into the future, is they have asked us to commune with them, to interact with them, to have conversations, to open up our senses, telepathy, and partner with them, co-create the future. So there is an open invitation there in our community to connect with these galactic beings and find out from their wisdom and have them mentor us as people. And this is a very organized and coordinated, united, the largest effort, the most widespread effort that I know of on this planet ever, of human beings reaching out to our cosmic friends and families. So that's one thing that we can do. And as far as with the People's Love Alliance, which is human to human contact, we can practice very core values that are almost cliche-ish, but they are nonetheless important and critical, because they are the only thing that'll help us survive. And those are values of love, compassion, kindness, and goodwill. And again, they almost sound so bland and cliche that you might overlook them because you're looking for some kind of answer in a workshop somewhere or in a book or in a movie that's complicated and sophisticated. And no, if you go inside and if we truly try to reach out and create right human relationships with those proper values and do it one by one in our families, in our homes, our workplaces, our communities, our countries, and in our world, build brick by brick from the ground up with the proper values moving forward, not the values that have separated us, which have been hatred, separatism, division, greed, all those things. Look where that's gotten us, right? So moving forward, that's what I advise people to do, is to use those values and start where you are. Wherever you are, there's something you can do to make someone's life better. And that's what this virus has taught us, I think, one of the things, which is to,
Beautiful, beautiful,
yeah,
Costa.
okay.
Please, I'm going to go to Celestine in a moment to answer Trisha's question, but two things. Please, Costa, put into the chat box and also into our main thing how people can get a hold of that organization that we talked about. And anticipation of Celestine answering Trisha's question, I always like to read things that are coming in from our audience. And this is perfect for you, Celestine. Dorina writes, there's lots of channelers of the Galactic Federation, and they're all focusing on the imminent ascension to 5D, both planetary and individual, and also in contrast to the damages and harms of the rolling out of 5G. What is your take on this? So, Trisha's question, and then kind of what Diana added, I think, or Dorina added, might be a good one for you, Celestine.
That is such an important question there, Tricia. As a cosmetologist, I work a lot with skin. I work a lot with the body, and I've done studies scientifically, uh, methodically through the years, So we're looking at the different levels of radiation and what they do to the body. The 5G has about 300 gigahertz of power. It can go up a little bit higher, but right there at 300 gigahertz of power, the microwave level of that will fry your body. It's almost as if you stood in front of a microwave and just opened the door and just let it hit you. I have been a component of cautionary usage of 5G down in City Hall. What you're looking at is a destruction of the water, the cellular structure of water in your cells, which breaks down the mitochondria, which breaks down the DNA, which gives you the RNA, which we're looking at that looks similar to the flu that's going around, where if it's taking the oxygen out of the system through just that level of almost like a heat, it just kind of draws the water out, it dries it out. Plants and trees then become more susceptible to fire. We've talked about that, but mainly the human body then begins to break down. Now you can imagine that when they've turned the 5G on, like in Washington State, and a doctor was in a hospital and everybody began to get sick, they couldn't breathe. And you have to imagine, if you cannot get oxygen, it's not going to be a respirator in the body, because it's going to take time for those cells to reinitiate themselves, to reproduce them in a finer way. You're only one level above weaponry. So those crowd control, devices that they use is microwave. It's 6G. And what I did find out in my research is that some of the towers have the ability to rev it up to 6G because they're planning to use it. And even though it's great for moving things faster at this time, I want to praise the high councils and those who give technologies to the earth, and that will be coming online. They will assist us to move beyond the microwave levels to get the communications that we need to move our towers, our radios, our television, everything faster. And we have to really look at, do we need faster, or do we want to live in a slow death? So that's what I would say. That's the choice. And then I would love to talk about, um, on a practical matter, the looking at one's individuality through this time in which a lot of people are having to deal with their inner torments, the traumas of the past, traumas of the childhood, things that need to come up, they can't go forward. Some people have no funds. They've lost their job. Their family has passed away. Somebody had COVID and passed away. So you have sorrow and grief. And we're looking at the, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. And so all of these things, we look to the professionals, those people. I myself am a transformative, intuitive, practical, um, um, what do I want to say, therapist. And Scott, of course, you are, and your team working with Love Coach Academy, of which I'm proud to be a member, and helping people. But if you do not have the tools to process your stuff, it is time to go and find one. Everything's coming up and it will not go away. So I just want to honor that and put it on the table and just say what comes of it is you will be empowered in a way that you will just be joyous. So that's what I
Thank you,
would say.
Celestine. So good to have your wisdom. And Lauren, of course, we're going to go to you next, but I want to echo something that Celestine just said that I've observed because of the nature of the work that I do, coaching a lot of people every day, and then working with a group of coaches. Uh, it is hard times for a lot of people, obviously. And what I've noticed that I just want to express that's similar to what she was saying is that people that have a good quality practice, whether it's yoga, meditation, martial arts, playing a musical instrument, even a religious orientation, people that have a good solid practice are doing so much better during these challenging times and changing times than people who don't. And so if you have a practice, do it more. If you've kind of put a practice aside, pick it back up again. If you don't have a practice at all, now is the time to start doing whatever it might be, playing an instrument, spending more time in nature, doing Tai Chi, finding a spiritual community that you really relate to. It's a really important time to have those tools to support us. So, all right, Lorian, what's your response to Trisha's question?
Well, what was Trisha's question again? Because it's
Yeah.
it got kind of spun around there. So what was it, Trish?
Oh, yeah. So I was asking, what are some logical, easy to follow, like practical ideas of how to prepare ourselves and move forward into this new era?
Oh, okay. Okay, great. And this goes right back to what Scott just said, because funny, I'm sitting in my therapist PhD's office here at the complex I work at, and I am the manager of the office of a PhD, two MFTs, God, I can't remember what everybody is. One's a psychiatrist, whatever. Anyhow, and you guys are going to love this. I walk in the door every day and they say to me, "How's the UFO thing going?" And I noticed that they find it fascinating. It gives them something interesting that's not in their frame of reference, and it gives them something kind of outside of themselves to think about. It's really cool. And the reason I bring this up is because if they can accept that going into the future in this, this expansion or ascension or whatever it is that we're doing here going forward in time, and it's going to get tricky, folks. In the next 5 years, it's going to be very different. And I think if they can make that leap, as psychiatrists, psychologists, MFTs, whatever they are, then I think most people out there can as well. And what Scott was saying about, having a practice, if you've got something, if you're in communication with ET, if you're in communication with your priest, if you are meditating all day long, whatever it is you're doing that's going to help you get to this next 5D place, everybody's going to get there different and in their own time. And it's going to be a very interesting, progression. I think all of us who are having contact with the Federation and the Council and, not necessarily the Greys or the Reptilians or those guys, but having, the light beings that, and the angels, which, are my thing, because, I'm writing a new book called Aliens Are Angels Too. And so I really feel that, everybody's going to get there in their own time, in their own way. And definitely, Scott, I just got to echo what you had to say, because it's just going to be a slow process for some people. And if they have to go through it through the Catholic Church or their Jewish faith or, whatever it is, they're still going to get that epiphany at the end. And then they're going to move on into being acceptant of whatever it is. And it may be angels for them. It may not be that they think they're aliens. It may be that they come to them as an angel because that's part of their faith. And I think that's how it's all going to take place. I think it's going to be much more subtle than people think. I don't think we're going to have the big horn that's going to blast and everybody, is going to wake up and we're all ascended. I think it's just going to happen in stages over the next few years, and everybody's going to get their own thing, what they can handle. And you know what? God works in mysterious ways, everybody gets what they need and they get it when they need it. So I think it's going to be really cool.
I'm so appreciating just how centered each of you are. And it's important because there's obviously people who are skeptics, and certainly people who are cynics, can be very poo-poo on this. And so that's where I want to kind of go with our next round of questions and thought. Briefly, my background in terms of the UFO thing is for many years I produced national broadcast television shows about UFO stuff. And I got a chance to interview 8 former astronauts, 30 former military officials, and also a lot of experiencers and contactees. And as a producer, what I looked for was, what was really special was when an event took place in group consensus reality. There's no doubt, I will never doubt somebody's personal experience, whether it's an interdimensional experience or whatever it might be. On any level, whether it's a religious experience, someone who sees Jesus or Mary, or has a Kundalini opening, awakening, there's a lot of magical things that can happen. But then there's when things take place in group consensus reality. That's why Roswell was such a big event, because it was certainly the biggest event in U.S. history up to that time that took place in group consensus reality. What are your thoughts about that? The distinction between your own personal experiences or personal experiences people have had, and when or how often does it actually take place in group consensus reality, and is that increasing? So that's my question to everybody. And I guess we'll go in the same order, Costa, Celestine, and Lorian.
Okay, fascinating question, and a really valid and relevant one right now. I know from experience in my ET Let's Talk community, for the past 10 years, as our groups of people all over the globe have gone out and made contact using the CE5 protocols, groups of meditation. So we have a lot of experience with those groups coming back, and they write reports and they contact me, they talk with each other on social media. They do have sightings and very dramatic things that happen in that group context. And what's wonderful about that, and it is increasing, by the way, there's some reference books out there. I don't remember the names of them, one of them right now, but anyway, there are more sightings going on all over the world all the time, increasing. And more of them are these CE5 groups. And what's great about the group experience is because every person who's a member of the group has a somewhat different modality. One person may be clairaudient, another person may be more telepathic, another one may have great vision. And when they all experience something that's going on in the skies or on the ground, each person brings their own modality and their perception to describe what it was. And so it's not left to one person to just say, oh, it was this one thing. You bring together all these pieces of a puzzle from every single person, and you get a better idea of what the whole picture, what this whole experience was like, because each person contributes their own special perception of it. It's like the five blind men and the elephant. You know, one sees a trunk, one has the feel of a tail, and nobody sees the whole elephant. But in a group experience like what you're talking about, it's really valuable. Everybody benefits that way. It's synergistic when they all put their reports together and they see the bigger picture of what they just happened to them.
Beautiful. And could you just, since it's come up a couple times, could you explain to our audience who may not know what a CE5
Ah,
is, a little
it's
bit
called
about the protocols?
Yeah, it's called A Close Encounter of the Fifth Kind. You've heard of the movie Close Encounters. That was A Close Encounter of the Third Kind. These definitions of close encounters 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 were, most of them were described by J. Allen Hynek. But the CE5 is a human-initiated interactive contact with UFO, ET intelligence. So instead of being passive about it, you can go through certain steps, which involve the use of consciousness, meditation. You can do it alone, but in a group it can be more powerful. And in that way, we reach out with consciousness and with our hearts to make connections by following certain steps, and they work a lot, and they work really well.
Well, that's a perfect segue to Celestine, because she's going to be leading a Skywatch this upcoming Tuesday night, the 14th, which many people, including Mark Sims, believes is going to be a time that if enough of us believe. I was always the first one to stand up and believe in Tinkerbell when I go to Peter Pan. Um, Celestine, tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing on Tuesday night and a little bit about what you've experienced in the past. And again,
Well,
that juxtaposition between individual experiences and group consensus reality.
so I began my connection with the ultra-terrestrials through my near-death experience. When I went through the light, I connected with two blue beings, and from that time on, they've always been with me. New Mexico, Amagata, New Mexico, with the atomic bomb blast and ripping the sky apart, you know, the ships come through, and I began Skywatch, and our whole family was actually teleported into a starcraft, and we were examined. So that is in my gree bag, my medicine bag, to share with all of you. And through the years, you know, I've just always kept that connection. We have a very metaphysical family that were Skywatchers from an early time. And so I ended up in Middletown in 1986, and I was guided there. And little did I know, this is where a lot of the ultra terrestrials, those that never left, those that work with the planet, they are there. And I was guided to have that connection with them. I started a group called the Light Group meetings. I started Light Group meetings, and we had contact out in the forest, in the place where they have their interdimensional base, and also under inner earth. So you could actually feel their vehicles going underneath you, sitting on the earth. So we've had a lot of contact with this grouping, and that's when I first came in contact with the High Spiritual Council and the Galactic Star Federation. So many years, you know, I became a yogini. I meditated and became enlightened of my own frequency, and soon the immortals appeared, immortals like Babaji and Yoshi Sojo and Tai Li Po, and I had great conversations, and they're still with me, but you know, those who manifest, and I was told to come down the mountain and share. And so we started the Galactic Earth Council 10 years ago. And, you know, Stephen Greer hadn't really stepped out. It was back in 1986. And, you know, it was that I had begun my quest. But in 2010, excuse me, we started the Galactic Earth Council. So tomorrow, I'm actually going to be going out after I speak with your Saturday Night Live, Scott, and we are going to celebrate 10 years of our advanced Galactic Earth Council who've had direct contact We've had landings, we've seen orbs that have actually come down to Earth, we've seen the ships, and we have a great wealth of understanding of our galactic consciousness in connection to those that are with us as star kin. They call themselves the star kin, and we are the earth kin. We are galactic consciousness in a human body. So, although Mark is giving this harmonic conversion, of which we were there at the beginning in 1987, and he's using the CE5, for me, I have that direct connection. So those who come out with me on the 14th, we will just have clarity of knowing that they've been working with me for the last 2 months. And this is generally what they do. They work with me and guide me in understanding what it is that I present to them. Mark has chosen universal harmony as the theme, and the Galactics always choose a theme with us. So we're going to go with Mark's theme. Mark and I are very close, and we both had the vision of the reveal. For Mark, it is the harmonic conversion. For our grouping, it is the reintegration of human with Starkin. So the reintegration comes down from the radiant one, which they call the God. It's their creator, their sourcial being. So everything that's taking place, your connection with the galactic starts with the creator, the radiant one, from what I am being told directly. And so they lived a life in which they understand your past, present, future, everything going on with you, and just making contact, just to fly over has to be, really cleared with the radiant one. So they work with me for, they have in this particular situation for about 2 months, and we're all prepared to go out. We've got about 35 people now that's going to be there on the 14th, and I'm really excited about it. How do you prepare? It's really your intent, because I've been across the river. I've been into the inner cities, the cities of light. It is extraordinary. And they're saying, do not come out as a looky-loo and to be entertained, because you've lost a lot of time. They are so prepared for humanity to help us. If you are someone who's an engineer, they are prepared to give us technology. If you are someone who is a librarian like me, I love world history. They took me into the library with beautiful plates of gold within information that was beyond what you could ever recognize. So it's like, what connection, what relationship do you uh, have in your heart to have with your star kin? They really admire us. They see us because we came into a human form. They kept their original form. So they're very humorous. The ones that I work with, they're very loving. It's hysterical. Everybody has fun. And yet there's a seriousness in what is it that how can we help you? Because we are growing, we are emerging out of a chrysalis of cosmic sleep, as a sense. When we blew the shields off way back in the 1940s with the atomic bomb blasting, then we opened ourselves to all kind of manners of consciousness. And so it's for us to understand frequencies and learn to grow and handle our own frequency and how to that. Um, what do you need? Why are you going out? What are you looking for? So we've had group experience for 10 years. And some of my favorite is 1111. I did a meditation in the Pyramid of Giza, and the next thing I knew, we had a full-on galactic ship above us. They use terrestrial ships a lot of times on Earth. They don't need a big galactic ship to traverse the Earth. So the Galactic Star Federation uses terrestrial, but we had a full-fledged galaxy ship. It means it can go from one galaxy to another, and it hovered over us for about 20 minutes. And that just opens the field to all kind of experiences. But I just wish everybody the best, and I'm so glad that we're doing harmonic conversion. and
Convergence.
convergence. Thank you.
Conversion is like the metric conversion.
That's right. I got excited. But Mark's vision of everybody going out through Stephen Greer, I know Stephen Greer does a lot of work of saying, you know, go out and find your little pockets of people. And I love meeting.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So thank
And I
you.
just want, and I want to remind people that if you're interested in participating in Celestine's event this Tuesday, July 14th, it's happening in the San Francisco Bay Area, up in Marin County. And I'll flash before we leave tonight, Celestine. I've got your flyer, which I'll post.
Okay.
And if people are interested, do you still have a room available for people to come?
They better sign up quick. We're already, you know, I think we're going to be, I think we're going to cut it at 60. I had to get permission from the county and all that. So, yes.
So I want to read something from one of our viewers, and this is a good lead-in for you, Lorianne. Dorina writes, "It's encouraging to see how many more humans are moving to the stage of humanely initiated contact, communication, and interaction with various ETs and multidimensionals, versus reactive observations, like the CE5, where we act as equal members of the universal family beings. What are your own such interactions so far, or anticipated ones?" Now, of course, we just heard a lot from Celestine about that. Lorraine, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I do. I'm sitting here laughing because Celestine, tomorrow night, I celebrate my 10th anniversary of our major Skywatch that I do with my MUFON group. I know everybody's going, oh, MUFON, you know, but the reality is, folks, you can ask Jan Harzen, the director of MUFON, about me. He describes me as the black sheep of MUFON because I refuse to do anything that MUFON tells me to do. But I do have a group every month that I have in Petaluma, California, and it's a blast. And we've been doing 2 to 3 or 4 times a year, depending on when we have a chance. We go out and we do a Skywatch. And tomorrow night's our 10th anniversary, and I believe you're going to be doing one as well. You're going to be out there, so we're going to be at the same time, just on mountain peaks about 5 or 10 miles away from each other, calling in the ships. And we've seen structured craft, and our biggest and coolest sighting was in the parking lot at the Petaluma Community Center, of all places. A giant black triangle appeared with all the lights on over us, and it was just it was so big, and people were freaking out, and it was just wild. So I mean, it doesn't matter where you are doing this. People tell me all the time, and I know I'm kind of going off topic here, but people tell me all the time, they go, Lauren, I never see anything. And I go, well, all you got to do is ask. But the trick to that is you've got to be over the fear, and you've got to be ready to accept what you're seeing. And a lot of people just, they think they are, but when it comes right down to it, they really haven't integrated all of that information that they've gotten, maybe, or haven't received, or whatever. But it takes real commitment. And I wanted to also say, you were talking about groups, and the interesting part about groups is that there have been so many. You were talking about Roswell. There was now, are you talking about people that are just there helping, or were you talking about people actually having experiences, seeing an ET or communing with an ET? Because I'll tell you, Scott, I don't know if you know about this, but there are so many instances of 15, 20, 30, 40, and 50 people being taken all at once and on the ships together. And I have a good friend named Terry Lovelace who actually was on a ship, and he thinks there were over 150 people standing right next to him. So, and I'm not saying these were the good ETs or the bad ETs. It was just an experience they had. But as far as good experiences with the Galactic Council and the Federation, I've known of groups of 5 and 10, 15, 20 that are actually experiencing being taken away for 6 to 12 hours at a time together. And some of them are having full recall, some have no recall, and some have just a little recall. And it's amazing what they've been doing. I think they've been stepping it up ever since about 1957, when the giant rock things started happening. And the people were welcoming the Space Brothers. I think that was our big cue, like, okay, come on down, we're ready for you. And these guys are, I think they're much more open to us as long as we're open to them. and everybody's got to be really honest with themselves. They've got to, they've got to do the deep dive into, themselves and go, am I really ready to see that, that angelic being or that reptilian or that gray standing at the foot of the bed? Because it doesn't matter what you're seeing. What we're into right now is we're into a state where every one of us who is having contact, it is our responsibility to learn how to communicate with them and bring the information back to the people here on this planet and into Celestine's group, Costa's group, your group, whatever group we have, and tell people about what we're learning from them without fear. That is the biggest, that's the step people have to get to. So, that's where I come from now. I when I get out there and talk, my whole thing is about get over the fear and figure out what, because you got chosen. You got chosen because you're the one the responsibility is now on your shoulders and you have to do the work. So it's a job. So get ready to go to work, you guys.
Beautiful. I'm going to turn over to Trish to ask another question in a moment, but I want to kind of riff on that for a moment. You're right. One has to get over the fear. And I think there's also something else, and that is trusting our imagination. Because often our imagination, as we open the imagination, it opens doorways. Um, and uh, so there's that, well, when we start to have mystical or spiritual or interdimensional experiences, we can talk ourselves out of it because we're so committed to 3D reality and to, kind of staying in the matrix, if you will. And so trust your imagination, trust, open it up. Just allow yourself to be playful. Be like you were when you were a little kid playing with your toys, and you really were so into it and you created this whole beautiful fantasy world that was really enjoyable. And it was real for you at the time. And the last thing I'll say about that is, having studied all this, having had a lot of interdimensional experiences, I've kind of come to the conclusion that we're living in a dream world. It's a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream within a dream. And that's just my belief. But in this dream world, there's like collective dream and there's individual dream. Right? And there's things that's just my dream, and then there's things that I'm dreaming with people close to me, and then there's things that the entire world is, dreaming in response to. And so, anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Don't be afraid. Open your imagination. Don't get attached. Don't make a religion out of any mystical experience you have. It just was a mystical experience. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to my partner, Trish.
I don't know where to go from here. I'm like, there's so many things.
Don't be afraid and
I'm
open your
not.
imagination.
Thanks. I'm like, we don't have much time. I have to, because there's like 6 or 30. There's like 30 different questions that I have going on in here. Okay, so I've been really looking into the galactic habitable zone. Like how, like the opportunity at which there's habitable. Is that the right word?
Habitable.
Habitable.
Habitable planets, places,
Yeah.
habitable.
So I've been looking at a lot like in the last few years. I have a couple really amazing friends who have taught me a lot about Pleiadians and just my connection to the world outside of the ones that I can even fathom in my brain. So there's a question in there I wanted to ask about the Fermi paradox and just like give some of the, just let me like drop it in. Sorry. I love that you all are really calling us to presence, to show up for ourselves and to meet other people in this really beautiful, compassionate way, to meet the other beings in a loving, open space. Like that's It's amazing. I love that that's the place we're all really. Um, the High Spiritual Council. Yeah, let's talk about that. That's a great question, Celestine. Thanks for leading me into that.
Yay.
An hour is so short.
Yay.
Well, first of all, we aren't committed to an hour. We can go longer. So, you know, this is an exciting panel. So I'm guessing we might go an hour and 15. So,
okay. So can I just say one thing, that the US government specifically said they dropped the information on April 27th this year that there was a confirmed UFO, and not a single, like, how fast did that go? And then just totally got wiped out by COVID. Does anybody want to speak to that a little bit?
Well, you know, I do want to speak into dimensional fields because the natural enactment of the government to hold back due to higher levels of people that are really monitoring and controlling the narrative. My husband was special forces, and he was a high level security, and he was in the Dragon's Den. And I just want to say I experienced the not so pretty side of that. And so, yes, they're going to wipe it out because it's a lot of money to receive technologies and to have that control. So that's all I want to say about that. But I do want to say we have the freedom of the mind, the creation of your own ability, like Scott said, to envision, because the universe touches every part of you. And when you feel and know within yourself that we are creating a new world, not the new world order, as he said, but the new world. What does it look like? Give the information, and the universe can move that along and create it for us. And it does every day. Every apple, everything that you have within you is being your connection between you and the creation, making that happen. So I want to go into the dimensions, as you say. Um, when the earth was created, according to the High Spiritual Council that shared with me, and they created what is called septicles. Nobody lived in the greening area, which is a third dimension, which is now dissolved. We spoke about the higher resonant field. We no longer really have the third dimension we had before. That's why that feeling of unsurety. But so we're now in a higher resonant dimension, and we're now in their dimension. If you can imagine these areas of like inner earth or the Gopi or the halls of Amente, you hear about Shambhala, they're interfaced with the dimension that we once had. And so nobody lived in the green area for many, many years, and then the colonies happened. So where we're at today is to recognize that as we raise our frequency, we are seeing more of the starships because we resonate at a higher field. Their visibility becomes easier for us. And also, it was decreed by the Radiant One that they no longer have to veil. When we ripped the universal shield off, then we began the process of growing up and becoming big human babies and becoming galactically orientated. So we began to see the ships, and they don't have to use clouds, and they don't have to cloak. And we are learning about our own frequencies. And so the habitation of a beautiful city is the City of Light over San Francisco. Is a huge complex. And I've had a doctor that I took one time into the forest where a stargate had opened, and he became exposed to the energies of the stargate, and ships were coming and going, and his mind was blown because he was having this experience. And when the stargate closed and the black helicopters, you know, the Black Hawk helicopters went away, he could actually steady himself, and he began to see the buildings, and he began to see the formation of the city that was around him. And so I feel that this is really the lifting of the veil. This is the time of the lifting of the veil. I'm excited because when we all go out there as a group world project of meditation, and we call them in, and they will come. They are planning to come. They know you're coming out there. They know it. They know how to precisely be in the right moment, right when you walk to a certain place, should they choose. And so it's really that intent. But just think about it. The government will not be able to deny a world event in which people are seeing their star kin. And I think this is the turning of the wheel you talked about, Scott. How can humanity make that big leap and change? The Mother Gaia, she's resonating at a higher state. So she's putting off whatever's coming up from her center crystalline core is the data that we need to formulate our new bodies. It's in the food, it's in the trees. So that's what I'm excited about. And so habitation on other planets, that is there. I spent a lot of time with the Space Development Conference where they talked about these things. Who's going to go? What's the psychology? What if are we going to take our bad habits? Is it going to be territory, money? You know, I've been a part of that unfoldment with NASA and groupings of scientists since 2007. I have a lot of interviews that I did with people in that way. So habitat, we have star fleets. We are not going to need rockets. It's just, this is just the last dredges of humanity saying we can do this. But the truth is, we have everything that we need and more, and so much love that we need and more. And so that's what I would say. Habitation, we're going to see such a glory as you've never seen before. So wonderful. I could keep talking if I need. Are we together? What's happening? You want me to keep talking?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, this is it. So take a breath. This is my crew. This is a photograph taken when I took a group of people. We were out on the bay. This is the City of Light. And this is a galactic, this is 3 galactic ships that just came in. They manifest. It's so organic. But understand that the ones in the forefront, the one on the right is the command ship. It's a galaxy ship. That means these ships, even the ones behind, just came in from another dimension. And the commander of this ship spoke to me telepathically and said, the time has come. We are here. So they're here for this moment for each of you. Take a breath. Notice the fine lines. They are so clean, so precise, so beautiful. The High Spiritual Council has their own fleet. And usually they're the ones that have the fleet with insignias in it. You will see them in the sky. They have a turquoise light and they have a white light. So when you see those 2 lights, you know that you're working with the High Spiritual Council. But these are high. This is the Star Confederation. These travel throughout different galaxies. They're not limited to our Sheshata or Milky Way. They travel throughout time and space. And I'll just take a moment for people to just breathe it in. And obviously you could see that it is not just a cloud. And should he he was very masculine, should he have wanted to, he could have just took all the clouds away and there would have been 3 immaculately aligned galactic ships. Think about what it takes to park one of those next to each other. So, all right. I can't hear you, Scott, but I know you love me. And I love
you. Okay, I just didn't want you to hear my computer sounds. And so here's a little bit about what you're going to be doing on Tuesday night. In Marin County, just north of San Francisco, Harmonic Convergence 2020, Skywatch from 7 p.m. till 9:30, and led by our beloved Celestine. So if you're interested in going, you can sign up a text. Just text Galactic in capital letters, Galactic, to 22828. Isn't that cool? My God, I love technology. So thank you, Celestine, for your wisdom, for being on our show. And Celestine will be on my big show tomorrow night, Saturday Night Live for the Global Peace Tribe. We're back with a special show and a special starting time. We're starting at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. So 3 hours, 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock Pacific time. That way our East Coast friends can join us. Mark Sims is going to be leading a CE5 type of meditation. Celestine's going to be there. We've got amazing people. Danny Sheehan and a lot of people very involved. So join us. All right, Costa, what are your final thoughts and sharings for tonight?
I would like to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Okay.
can. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the fact that we're all agreeing that the time for making wider contact between us and the cosmics, the galactics, is here, and with our animal friends too. Um, what I'd like to say is that we need to take our power back, and we're doing that in everything that we're talking about and doing here. And what I mean about our power is that the government has controlled the narrative about in the media about what is seen and what's going to be revealed in terms of UFOs and ETs. The People's Disclosure Movement, our theme is we take our power back, we make our own contact, and we bypass all the institutions of authority of all kinds, not just governments, that are trying to tell us that these cosmic visitors are not here. So this is very empowering, and I want to just let your audience know that every time any of you, any of us goes out, makes our own contact, has our own experience, tells somebody else, and teaches somebody else to do the same, we are doing the most evolutionary thing that we could possibly be doing right now, aside from working on ourselves and our love, and that is taking that power back, teaching each other, and moving forward into the future, because we are the disclosure. We got to stop waiting for the government to make that announcement about disclosure, or for a video from the Navy or whatever. When we're on bended knee like that, we're only looking at the ground and at our masters. And we are the disclosure ourselves. We are the masters who are coming together and revealing the truth of all these galactic visitors, and the fact that we can co-create with them. So that's what I want to say to people is, take your power back. It's a people's disclosure. Let's keep banding together, making the contact, and we're definitely going to move forward by doing it that way.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. The theme of our Saturday Night Live shows, we are the ones we've been waiting for, and this is the time we've been preparing for. So it's perfect. Lorian, there's a question that came in a while back, but I've been saving it for you because I have a feeling you'd be the best person to respond to this question. So a question for you, and then whatever you want to conclude with. And the question is sweet. It's, who doesn't like good human humor, but what about alien humor? Does anybody have a good alien humor that they can share, or alien joke? So, but I think the sense I got was humor from an alien perspective. So, Lorraine, I had a feeling you'd be the best shot at that one.
Well, it's interesting you asked that, because I always take, every time I have contact with my guys, that they're playing a joke on me. And I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it's always like I'm going, really? Is that really all you got? Or, I always feel like they're kind of like just playing a game with me. And so people need to understand, it isn't like, you're getting a bolt from heaven and instantly this booming voice is there and, whatever. It's more like, it's almost like they're childlike and innocent in a way that we can't comprehend as humans. I'll never forget, one time I was, oh God, this is a long story. Bottom line to this story is, a friend of mine blew pot smoke on a troll doll I had in the car we were in. And I got this like voice in my head that said, he got the troll stone, so now you're all going to die. And I'm like, well, what do you mean we're all going to die? This ominous thing, but it's like they were laughing at me when they said it, and I freaked out. So I made everybody in the car put on their seatbelt, and they were all mad at me because they were like, no, we were putting on, this is way back. This is back in the 70s. Nobody wore seatbelts back then. So we all put them on, and sure enough, we got in this horrific accident. We went over a cliff. If we hadn't had those seatbelts on, we all would have been dead because we would have gone out all the windows. And it's a very long story, and then when it was all over, 2 days later, I'm laying in bed and I hear this, I told you you were going to die, but you didn't. And I'm like, great, thanks a lot. But this is how it's never like you think it's going to be. So, don't be, like we were talking about earlier, don't be afraid. Just get ready for it, because when they start talking to us all, when our ascension does start happening to all of us individually, and then another time, I'm driving over the Golden Gate Bridge and I hear this voice in my head telling me, slow down, get in the right lane. And I'm like, no, I started arguing with it. Okay. See, this is the kind of relationship you can have with your aliens too, folks. So you can argue with them just like you're married to them. So it's crazy what happens. And I wanted to say one quick thing before I ended out tonight with you guys, which, by the way, thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh, Lauren, you've been great.
Oh, thanks. Well, anyhow, I'm just being me as usual, which is is always a thing unto itself. But I wanted to say that you don't, it's great that we're all here and we've all had contact, and that we're all doing this. But my whole thing, and why I do my MUFON group and a whole bunch of things like that, people go, why do you do all these kind of like over the edge thing with just people? And I go, because those are the guys that haven't had contact. And I'm doing my best to get out on Meetup and get people that are just kind of interested in the subject, that have maybe seen one Ancient Aliens TV show or something like that, trying to get them to open their eyes and just come to a meeting and just hang out with people that have had experiences, and getting them to get to that point where they can accept it. And it takes a while. It's nothing that's going to happen instantly, but that's what I've been told. That's my mission. My mission is not to preach to the choir. My mission is to get out there and try to recruit. So I'm the girl in the recruiting station on board Galactic Enterprise, trying to get everybody together. So I do hope you guys are,
Well, along those lines, you might notice that I've actually pulled up.
oh my
You're,
God, you saw
you're,
that.
yeah, of course, you're doing. I mean, hey, I love it. Meet the Venusians, a Mount Shasta summer conference, and listen, Mount Shasta in the summer is a good place to be, and
Oh,
it's being put on
absolutely.
by our friend Lorian. Um, and
Actually,
so,
I'm not putting this on. I want to really get real clear.
oh,
Rob
okay,
Potter is putting this on, and I
okay,
will be he's having me be his like keynote speaker. So I really
great.
appreciate him for doing that. He's just a wonderful guy. He wears pyramid
Well, it looks like a
hats.
lot of fun. Yeah, so at August 26th to the 30th, I know the Siskiyou Lodge well. I've been there many times. And that's going to be a really fun thing to do, August 26th to 30. And for more information, I guess the best thing to do is what's the best way for people? I'm trying to look
Well,
for a link here.
yeah, go to my MUFON website, which is MUFONMarinSonoma.com. Just go to MUFONMarinSonoma.com, throw the two counties in there, and you'll get to me. And there is a page there with a link to some discount tickets if you buy it through my link. So
There you
there you
go.
go.
And I
Yeah.
think actually you just go to MUFON,
No,
MUFON.
no, don't go there.
But
Oh,
let
no.
me finish. I was just say,
Oh,
what, because I found you by going just to I put in Google MUFON L'Oreal, and you came right up.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah, my
So
name in MUFON. Yeah, of
yeah, your name
course.
and
Yeah,
more MUFON.
yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm not gonna.
Oh yeah, no, MUFON will have a cow if
Uh,
if people are looking for the Venusians at the MUFON headquarters.
uh, well, I want to thank everybody for being here, and thank you everybody on Facebook for watching. Hey, if you enjoyed this, please share it out. That's how we meet new friends. And so, share it on your timeline. It's exciting. You can see by the enthusiasm of all of our speakers that something very incredible is happening. And it's available to all of us. So let's open up our imaginations. Let's have a great week. Some of us are going to go out with Celestine. Lorian, I'm thinking Mount Shasta. I've been looking for an excuse to go up there, so maybe I'll catch some of that. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And please do join us tomorrow night, special time, 6 o'clock. We're going to have a really special edition of Saturday Night Alive for the Global Peace Tribe. Celestine will be there, Mark Sims. And we've got these amazing band, Olaks from Siberia. They are finalists in America's Got Talent, and they do this amazing combination of throat singing, drumming, and they're amazing. We've got Magic with Heather. We've got the Sonic Butterfly. Amanda Brooks is going to do a special performance. It's going to be a really magical show. And we got a lot of really cool speakers. So join us tomorrow night, 6 o'clock Pacific time. We'll see all of you then. Take care, everybody. I am saying goodbye to